Hi, everyone. Good to see all of you joining. Hi, Kelly. Good to see you, Julie, Karen, Laura, Kimberly, Lynn, Marcia. So many people jumping on today. I think we've maybe found a mutual standpoint on all of our desire to tap into hope. Hi, Christine from the UK. So happy to have you all here joining today. Hi, Ria. Yeah, we're going to explore such an important topic, which is hope. It's the topic that is going to be our theme for Tender 4.0, which opens today. You can actually get on and register today for that. And I do have to say that I've been sort of diving deep into everything I can get my hands on in terms of hope, whether it's songs, podcasts, books, research articles. And although, as a sensitive person, I do feel overwhelmed by everything in the culture, in the world, in my own life, since really kind of bathing myself in this construct of hope, I feel different. Um, I feel like I have a focus. What we're going to learn today is that hope is not a fuzzy emotion. In fact, it's not even emotion. It's more of a focus forward. It's a lot of action taking. So for me, there's been an increase in fire in myself. Like, all right, let's get in the ring and let's do this. Let's figure out ways to initiate more hope. So, super excited to have you on. Great question, Ria. No, it is not solely for US residents. And I'll explain that anyone can sign up for the online portion. In fact, the more the merrier. We'd like this to be sort of a worldwide movement of people coming together, sowing the seeds of hope. You do have to be, we have this beautiful gift box that we share with the residents of Iowa, the first 1,000 women who sign up, because it's all covered by a grant through our state, but you have to be a resident of the state. But we love people from all the states and all the countries. And yes, please join us for the online portion. So let's get into hope and why it does feel like we need it. It's a necessity, just like air is a necessity for us. This is a little bit about who I am. Most of you have been with me. If you're not been in Wisdom Wednesday with me before, welcome. Really always happy to add new people into these conversations and really what feels very much like a community. My work definitely is as a bridge builder, and we're going to talk more about bridges today. I think I hadn't realized fully my deep connection to bridges, but I definitely feel like I'm trying to bridge light and dark. In this instance, really trying to bridge Eastern thought with Western science. And it feels important to me that we all learn to hold what sometimes seem like opposite constructs, but always are on the same path. So I have to first start with some gratitude to the Mental Health Disability Services of the Eastern Central region of Iowa. For 4 years, I've been lucky to receive a grant from them to do this preventative mental health series for women called Tend Her. And this money came the first time out of the pandemic because I was very um, close to the research that was showing that women were having a really hard time. In fact, a much harder time mental health wise than men post pandemic. And so we started year one with a deep study on self compassion. And then it just kind of took out off. The second year, we worked with a return to self, the third year, resilience, and now this year, hope. And all of those previous courses are free and they're still around. So I think Kimberly will put in the chat box for ways that you can access all of that free content. And I want to make a big shout out. I do not do this alone. I have an amazing team. I want to thank May from the East Central region who trusted me and believed in me to help birth these beautiful programs. And then the Tenter team that has my back and help with so much of the visioning and the co-creation of this. So thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Fanny. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Rachel. You guys are all big parts of the threading of these themes and the creation of this. So I wouldn't want to be doing this without this incredible team. So Tender 4.0 starts in a couple of weeks, March 31. Although it is geared towards women, I really believe, especially with hope, we all need it no matter our gender, no matter our gender orientation. It's for everyone, men, women, trans persons. It really is something that can, I hope, bring more hope to people. So the online portion, yes, please sign up. We then have a Hope Summit for Women, which is a day-long in-person event in West Branch, Iowa at the beautiful Little Lights on the Lane. Sign up for that will happen April 7. And then there are a couple of retreats that I am teaching in the next year that if you want a little bit more intense, deep work, those are some other options as well. So let's do hope. Let's talk about it. I have to give actually all credit to the idea of this theme from my dear friend Monica Bazile, who has this capacity just to sort of pull things down from the ethers. And she was saying, I think hope, we all need hope. We need hope. So I'm grateful for her to beginning that seed. And then as I really started to study it, I saw the deep benefit of it. And what I'm sort of most excited about is that it holds the darkness and the light. It doesn't just focus on positive Pollyanna type attitudes, which have their place, but can also be quite harmful. So we're going to go into some more of the nuances of hope today. You probably have all heard this statement that hope springs eternal. You might not know the source of it, which is actually from about, let me look at my notes. I think it's the 1750s. There was a author named Alexander Pope, 1732, who wrote a poem with this famous, now famous line in it. And I think to me, it's a reminder that hope is in all of us. Clearly, we're close to spring. I think we're officially about 10 days away from spring. New life, new growth, certainly longer days, more sunshine. Even as if you go through daylight savings time, as we do in the region where I live, we spring forward, our clocks spring forward. So there's something about this season, which is there's almost like a propelling energy. It's like it's time to break out and start to take action. You might be feeling that. But I also want to normalize that you might not be. And this seems extremely important. April is considered to be one of the most difficult months for depression. The data also shows that there are often the most suicide attempts and completions in the months of spring. And so, although for many people, spring feels like a new lease on life, for other people, it can actually get darker and harder as our sunlight increases. And you might ask why. I mean, it seems a little counterintuitive, and most people might guess that winter is the hardest time for depression. And of course, winter months do show higher levels of depression than summer months. But there's something about spring when hormones change, there's higher pollen rates, and our circadian rhythms start to shift because of the more influx of light. That seems to be potentially quite difficult for people. From an Ayurvedic perspective, which is Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga, they would call it that in winter we take on extra earth energy. We start to feel the grounding of earth. We spend more time in the dark. We spend more time sort of anchored into one place. We're not moving around in the same way we do in summer. And so our systems sort of build up this heaviness that then we have to shed in the spring, which is why cleansing, clearing out closets, moving more in the spring seem to be quite natural, intuitive responses that most of us feel naturally. But again, based on our history, based on our trauma history, um, I just want everyone to know that April, spring might be quite challenging. So this is sort of my theory, but I feel like the influx of light that happens, and I could feel it early February where I live. When there is more light, when there's more illumination, it not only shines on the things that bring us joy and bring us hope, but it also can illuminate some of our shadow, meaning the parts of self that we don't want to look at. We don't want to deal with stuff that we keep pushing to the recesses. So spring can stir a lot of that up. And those of you who study with me in yoga, I talked about it this week that we're also at a full moon this week. We're also starting eclipse season, and all of those sort of cyclical things have a big impact on our mood and can stir some challenging things up to the surface for us. Now, not only is spring potentially a challenging time for depression, which is why we're choosing to do 10 Tur 4.0 during the month of April, one of the hardest months, but I feel like this has to be spoken, and it's not a surprise to anyone because we're all living it collectively together. But these are deeply turbulent times. There's a lot of social unrest, there's a lot of angst. We're seeing if you follow the news, you're seeing every day ageism, sexism, racism, homophobia, stripping people of their human rights. And we're also living at a time where it's very quick. Things are speeding up. And modern world can feel pretty jarring for many of us. It sort of feels like there's a continuous shock to the system, especially if you're staying abreast of everything that's unfolding in the world. So not only do we have these sort of socio-political issues, but our planet, there's an increase in global warming and all of the inherent challenges that come with that. And so, I really feel like this is a time where it can be so easy to get burdened by the weight of what we're seeing sort of on this horizontal plane of life. So I want to bring in a Hermetic principle of polarity to help us begin to approach hope and to help us begin to hold the light and the dark, essentially. This principle, which we all know, is that there are opposites and they sort of are on the same continuum. We could even say Newton's third law of motion, which, if you're a Hamilton fan, there's a line in Hamilton that my children say all the time, which is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is sort of tied into this idea of polarities. So this principle says that yes, there will be both light and dark. There will be hot and cold. There will be love and hate. There will be day and night. But these are not opposite, even though they seem opposite, they are on the same continuum. So this understanding helps us see that we can't necessarily cut one thing out without cutting out the other. We have to learn how to find and hold this tension of opposites. I think a really good example of this as it relates to hope. So, of course, the symbol of the rainbow, which has had a long-term connection to the construct of hope, only shows up when there has been a big storm, when there's been rain, when there's been lightning, thunder. This is when the rainbow shows up. So we have to have the dark clouds to see the rainbow. And the same thing goes for hope. So when, again, I started to really read and study this, this was something that jumped out immediately to me, that there's this natural pairing between hope and despair. And everyone has felt that despair, almost as if you're being pushed under the water. It's a human experience for us to feel despair. The word despair actually comes from French, and the spare part means hope, and the des part before means lack. So despair means a lack of hope, meaning that they are on the same continuum. So thinking about this has really helped me. I have to admit to everyone that although I've been studying positive psychology for really since its inception in my profession as a psychologist, I have both really loved all the work of positive psychology, and at times it's given me a little bit of an allergic reaction, meaning that when we just focus on positive states of being, we're missing out on sort of the full breadth of life. In fact, one of my very first therapists that I worked with in my early 20s, I remember her saying to me, Betsy, life is like a piano. There are very low keys and there are very high keys. But if you just play in one of the high tones or the low tones, you miss out on the richness of life. That we need the whole range to actually be able to live the fullest life and to create the most beautiful music. That teaching has very much stuck with me. So the same goes with despair and hope. Hope is born out of despair. So again, hope is not this fuzzy emotion that we just reach for. And it's so common. Think about even how we use the word hope. I hope your vacation goes well. I hope you get what you need. I hope that everything is better for you soon. It's sort of this, it doesn't contain the depth, doesn't contain the realness that I think when we really start to dive into what hope truly is, it shows us it is as connected to despair and the challenges and the turmoil and the darkness that our world is going through, or we might be going through personally, as it does to a way forward, a way through. So, as a psychologist who loves the depths, I love to study depth psychology and all the archetypal stories. I wanted to bring our attention to the story of Pandora. And I think all of us perhaps know about Pandora. We've heard about Pandora's box. Don't open Pandora's box. So let me share some pieces of this, we might call it myth, that maybe you don't know about, because I certainly didn't know about it before I found it. So it was the Greeks who came up with the myth of Pandora. And Pandora was created, she was the first woman created. So clearly there are some parallels to Eve here. She was the first woman, human woman, created by all the gods, and they gifted her with everything. They gifted her with beauty, they gifted her with intelligence, they gifted her with musical skills, they gave her all of these amazing gifts. In fact, the gods called her the perfect human woman. So just sit with that a moment. They called her the perfect human woman. So she was given Pandora's box and she was told never to open it. But of course, the gods created this perfect woman who had curiosity. She was curious. She wanted to know what was in that box. And in the myth, at least several variations that I read, the myth calls the trait of curiosity a less desirable trait that somehow Pandora ended up with. However, This is a slide from a Wisdom Wednesday, I think I did last month, where we talked about curiosity and how it was often oppressed in the Middle Ages, but it is a beautiful trait. It is a universal trait. It is a human trait. It gives us wonder. It helps us discover new pathways. It's in my eyes, an extremely beautiful human positive trait. So, of course, Pandora got curiosity as well. So, any of us who are inherently, I think we all are curious beings, I know I am, I would have opened that box, as did Pandora. And of course, what comes out? Sickness, death, sorrow, strife, monsters, everything, all of the evils imaginable and all the miseries imaginable come out of this box. So after all of this darkness comes out of the box, there's only one thing that remains. And what do you think that is? This is the part of the myth that I didn't know. The last thing that remains in the box, it does not come out, is hope. So hope was a part of all of these miseries that came out. And so some would say that Pandora is actually the bringer of hope. She actually brought hope to humanity. And that hope only comes in tandem with trouble, with pain, with challenge. Um, they go together. And I think this is exactly what I needed to hear when I started to study hope, that it's not just a one-way road, it's holding this tension of opposites. So I have begun to conceptualize hope as a bridge. And as I said earlier, I seem to have a predilection towards bridges. I love images of bridges. There's a hike at a park nearby me that's got what to me feels like a little troll bridge. And I get so excited to cross this bridge. So there's something about bridges for me. But as I think about hope, it feels like on one end is the darkness, right? It's the challenges of life. It's the sorrow. It's the grief. It's the problems, the very real human problems of the world. On the other side of the bridge is the light, which is, we might say, goodness, love, benevolence, um, wholeness, health, all the things we potentially want to move towards. But hope is the thing that connects the two. So, on one end, we might also say on the dark side is also where pessimism lives. And on the other side of the bridge, where the light is where optimism lives. And hope is not optimism, nor is it pessimism. It's something completely different. It is the thing that connects these two things. So, I feel that what hope helps us see is that we need to connect our own personal darkness with our own personal lightness. So for those of you who are going to join me in Tender 4.0, we're going to do shadow work. We have to do it, right? Because we can't really grasp hope and our own light and how we're supposed to be part of the positive change that comes into our planet right now without being able to work in our own challenge, work in our own darkness, work with wherever we're getting stuck or tripped up in our own life. So, and I do think Robert Johnson, he's a Jungian writer and analyst. He's got this great quote. It's actually on my painting back there, which is a depiction of the light and the dark. Robert Johnson said, "The place where the light and the dark begin to touch is where miracles arise." So I think it's on this bridge that miracles can begin to arise, where the light and the dark touch, when we're willing to hold both our own darkness as well as our own bright light. We have to hold them both. If you're curious about hope, I highly recommend the work of Rebecca Solnit. She writes poetically and profoundly about hope. And I feel like this drives home this idea of holding the light in the dark when we work with hope. She writes that hope is not a lottery ticket that you can sit on the sofa and clutch feeling lucky. It is an axe you break down doors with in an emergency. Hope should shove you out the door because it will take everything you have to steer the future away from endless war, from the annihilation of the earth's treasures, and the grinding down of the poor and marginal. To hope is to give yourself to the future. And that commitment to the future is what makes the present inhabitable. I find this so beautiful that hope isn't just sitting placidly by. I've been talking a lot about this with my students that this is not the time for any of us to play small. This is not the time for us to shrink back and believe like, well, I don't know if I have anything to add to the collective evolution that's trying to occur right now. I don't know. I'm just going to stay home and, stay safe. This is not a time to play it small. All hands are needed on deck. All of us need to be a part of solution and movement forward rather than get stuck in the morass of fear and mistrust and division, divisiveness. So hope says we have to work with paradox. And again, if you've been listening to these Wisdom Wednesdays, I should look back. I think I talk about paradox in almost every single one. Paradox is, in the words of Carl Jung, where life really begins, when we're able to hold seemingly opposite traits or concepts or life experiences. This is where life really is true and real. So there are so many paradoxes. There's that wisdom paradox, which I have been feeling so much. The more I learn, the less I know. The failure paradox, which is you have to fail to find success. The connection paradox, which is the more connections I make on social media, on the internet, the less connected I actually feel to life and to the world. The speed paradox. Sometimes we have to slow things down to actually get things done, right? To actually get movement forward. And then, of course, our hope paradox, you have to hold the darkness. You have to look at the dark. You have to be with what's actually not working well in your life or in the world around you to find hope for a different way. I am such a fan of Annie Lamott. She's got, I don't know, I've got a whole bookshelf of her pithy and humorous and wise books. And she's got a whole book on hope. And she too believes that all truth really is paradox. And this turns out to be a big reason for hope. If you arrive at a place in life that is miserable, it will change. And something else about it will be true. Paradox is an invitation to go deeper into your life, to see a bigger screen, to try a wider reality through curiosity, awareness, and breath. To try actually being here in the now. What a concept, she writes. So that's what we're going to do in this 10 tour program is we're going to attempt to practice getting more comfortable with paradox and with everything that is unfolding in our life and in the world. So if we are working with paradox and working with hope, I believe it really is this invitation for us to go deeper. And so as I've been thinking about hope, I got an image that came to me, which has been really helpful. And I'd like to share with you today, and then we'll be carrying it throughout the program. There's a lot of theory on horizontal and vertical development. So Ken Wilber, who's a philosopher, writes a lot about this concept. There's also a fair amount of psychological theory that supports that we can develop both horizontally and vertically. So let's talk a little bit or break this down. I would say horizontal development, horizontal growth is based on time. And it's actually also based on learning, right? Like academic learning. It is sort of part of our natural development. You tend to know more at 30 than you do at 15, right? So it's a part of taking on new skills. So that's the horizontal dimension. Now the vertical dimension is different. It's more transforming, it's more rare. It's more dependent on kind of a personal evolution. It's seeing a bigger picture. It is a more spiritual path, I would say. It's more transcendent for sure. And that the horizontal and the vertical path actually they're interdependent and they're interconnected. So it's not as if we are just going to take the vertical path. We actually need the horizontal as well, and vice versa. So I want to share two perspectives about the horizontal and the vertical path. So horizontal path, there's great science out there. You all know I'm a social scientist, so I have to bring this in. Hope theory, there's a researcher who's since passed away, but I believe he was at the University of Kansas for most of his career, and he created this theory of hope. And I really like it, and we're going to work with it. It falls short for me in certain ways, but I still think it's got a lot of merit. The hope theory here, as I'm going to describe it, is very horizontal. It's very basic. It's very focused on things that on some level we already know, which is the idea if you want to bring more hope into your life, you have to figure out what's my goal. Then you need a pathway. You need a roadmap of, okay, I have this goal and this is how I'm going to do it. And then last but not least, you need agency, you need willpower, you need something that motivates you to keep going when you start to get worn out. So very basic breakdown. What do you want? What are the steps to get there? And then what's going to give you the energy to stay the course? So to give you a real life example, I had an opportunity to spend some time with a dear friend over the past weekend. And actually didn't know this aspect to her life and was sort of in awe of it. She was a single mother and she was trying to put herself through school and was experiencing challenges. And because of this, she decided that what she wanted most in life is to help women and children with issues of poverty. So because she knew that's what she wanted, she figured out the steps and the pathways to get there. She completed her education. She moved to DC. She worked with policy. She enacted a lot of support to help women and children get out of poverty. The things that gave her the energy was, of course, her personal history, self-care, and actually seeing things change at a policy level to help people. So this is a real horizontal path, right? It's the path of figuring out, I want this, these are the ways to get there, and this is what's going to help me stay the course. So this might really speak to you, and this is going to be a part of our Tenter program. But I also have to admit, I am definitely an out-of-the-box psychologist, for better or for worse. I remember when I started to read about this theory, I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. Makes sense, but there's more. This isn't just it. It's bigger than this. It kind of mirrors my career in the field of psychology, which of course I love psychology, but I've always been extremely aware of its limits or some of its blind spots. And so when I think about hope, I love the idea of goal setting, but it's not, to me, my opinion, it's not enough. We need something more. And what is the more? What is the more? For me, the more is the vertical. The more, there's a great quote by Emily Dickinson that hope is the thing with feathers that perches in your soul. And so the vertical dimension, when we think about hope, requires us to maybe dig down into our roots, deal with our lineage, deal with our shadow, deal with the things that hasn't been sort of taken out or worked through in our system yet. And it's also to use imagination, big picture, creativity, meditation, spiritual trainings to really help us move vertically to work with hope. So both seem essential to me, but again, I think we need them both. They speak both to me. So here we're going to do a hope practice. I promise. I think this is actually an extremely powerful guided meditation that I taught in a class recently. And for me, I did the meditation prior to teaching it and had some really profound images come forward for me that I'm still living into. So I wanted to share this today. So we're going to get into this guided meditation hope practice. I feel like I want to leave today with that. But just to give you a few more details, Tend Her 4.0 Hope. You get the 4 weeks of online classes with me as we're going to break down hope and how it relates to our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and then how we can make some commitment to be a provider of hope. We can start to put ripples out into our community. This year, I am so thrilled about this. We've added a 21-day meditation challenge. Meditation is absolutely a vertical path and has been maybe one of the most profound behavior changes I've made in my own life. I started to make a commitment to meditate every day, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, and it's changed my life for sure. So we want to kickstart people, give people, you'll get an email every day with a guided meditation to sort of maybe kickstart a practice for you. I definitely think it's helpful to have some guidance in the beginning. And so we hope to do that. There's also going to be opportunities to join small groups. I literally have been stopped on the street by groups of women or by women who said, you put me, and this is all random, we randomize people. I'm in a small group with women, and it has been nothing short of miraculous for my life. We meet on a regular basis. They're my new deepest and truest friends. So there is an opportunity for that if that's something you're looking for. Also for the first 1,000 women, and I'm sorry for you out-of-staters, you do have to be in Iowa because this is grant funded. You get a signature journal and bracelet as sort of like talismans in a way to remind you of this process. And then you also get first access to that Hope Summit. To register for that, registration will happen in about a week for that. And then for the whole month of April, we are planning what are called glimmer events. Glimmer events are, a glimmer is the opposite of a trigger. And glimmer events are going to be events that involve art and music and community and just joyful moments during the whole month of April to get out. And for people who are all around the country and the world, we're going to encourage you to create glimmer events in your location. It don't have to be big. They can be a couple people, but it's helping each other hold on to hope, essentially. So that's what we're doing. Whew, that's what we're doing. So let's move into just a little bit of settled meditation to ground and embody. I'm such a believer that we can intellectualize and we can receive all this amazing content, but the real change comes when we embody it, when we feel it in our bodies, when we meditate with it, when we take it in versus just keep it up here. So I'm a big believer in that bridge of taking intellectual material, which I love, but landing it deeper in our own system. So let's do that now. Let's really ground and take some of this information on hope and see if we can feel it in our bodies, maybe receive some guidance and some intuition on it. So I invite you, if you're not in a car right now or you're not in a place, if you're in a place where you can actually do this, this is recorded. So if you need to watch the meditation later, by all means, it will be available to you. So let's take a breath in. Find a comfortable seat. So align your spine, meaning your weight comes over your sit bones. Your spine is expansive and tall. Your shoulders begin to relax, and your attention starts to move in. Can help to connect to a root. So feeling roots coming out of the bottoms of your feet or coming out of your sit bones, imagining those roots traveling down to the center of the earth as an anchor. Feeling the face relax, feeling the jaw soften, feeling the shoulders maybe shake out a little bit or drop down away from your ears. Let your belly relax. We all hold so much tension in the belly, and many have been taught to hold the belly sucked in. Just let the belly be soft and relaxed. Let your pelvis release down into whatever surface you're sitting on. And that sense of relaxation moving down the legs, through the knees, through the shins, all the way down into the feet. And now we connect to breath. So finding your breath and deepening it, taking longer and deeper breaths into your belly. If possible, seek to slow down your exhale, make it a little longer and more expansive than the inhale. And just imagine that with every exhale you make, you are becoming more relaxed, more grounded, and more open, becoming more open. It's also often in meditative states when our body relaxes and our mind becomes more open that we have a more direct access point to wise mind, higher self, what we sometimes call the inner teacher. So I encourage you to be curious about the possibility that in this integration meditation that there might be an image or a feeling or a memory or a word or an idea that might just pop in for you that you need today, that you need for your path forward, that you need to understand or receive. So as we stay with curiosity and we stay with the innate skill that we all have to imagine, to envision, to see something with our mind's eye, I want you to imagine that you are standing right in the center of your life path, which is absolutely true. So allow yourself to receive a vision of this life path that you are on, standing here in the present moment. Where is your life path? Is it on a road? Is it in a forest? Is it on a cliffside? Is it meandering? Just gather some information. If I were to envision my current life path, what would it look like? Let your mind take you. Imagine, what does my life path look like? Remember, in this moment, you're standing in the present moment, in the here and now. And in the present moment, in the here and now, how does your body feel? Are there any emotions or thoughts that are accompanying you right now in this present moment? To stay in the present moment on this life path, take a moment to look forward at the path taking you into the future. And then also just take a brief moment to look backwards at the path of the past where you've come from. And now, from this vantage point of the present moment, we go vertical. So it's almost as if you rise up into the bird's eye view of your life path, just like looking out an airplane window down towards the earth, being able to see where you've come from and where you're headed. And maintaining this idea of the bird's eye view, the bigger picture, the vertical vantage point, take a moment to look back from where you've come, all that's already unfolded in the past years and decades of your life. That sort of significant events naturally and effortlessly surface for you. Births, deaths, major changes, moves, health issues, all of the major things that have already happened. It's as if you're seeing them from this bird's eye view. As you look back, you might even see far enough back to your lineage, your ancestors, where you literally came from. And remember, everything that you're seeing is for your highest good, for your highest guidance and your movement forward. So, when you've seen what you needed to see, looking back at your past, just take a moment to say thank you to yourself for how far you've come, for all you've learned, all you've experienced, all you've felt, all you've overcome in these years of your human life. And then find yourself back in the present moment. So, feeling now into this present moment where you're sitting in the room, the sounds in the room, where you are at this current juncture point in your life. And now, from that vertical bird's eye view, we begin to look forward. I would say hope is a very forward leaning behavior, stirs us forward. So, from this higher perspective, is there anything that your wise mind wants to show you about your path forward? In fact, is there anything that would be helpful for you to know or see? Again, when we work in these spaces of wise mind, things can come to us as images or colors or feelings in the body or song lyrics or phrases we hear. And just staying open to what might I need to see about my path going forward that would help me in the here and now. Are there certain tools you need? Is there a specific message you need? Where does hope want to direct you? And then feeling yourself back in the present moment, the center of the universe, wherever you're seated. And send out forward on this life path on which you are. Send forward gratitude, send forward hope for all of the potential that is in this future path of yours. And then, as you again feel yourself very settled, all parts of you, past parts of you, future parts of you, everything is back here in one place in the present moment. You can start to really again hear sounds in the room. You might choose to move your body. You might bring your hands to your heart and just take a little moment to bow in reverence for yourself and how you showed up for yourself in these moments. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Give you a little time to come all the way back And I do encourage, if you were gifted a word, an insight, a vision, sometimes they're so quick. Take a moment to write it down, because stuff comes through and then it goes, it leaves. And so if you got some image, some word, some memory, write it down. It's powerful. 5 more minutes. Does anyone have questions? Anything you want to ask about the Tinter program or Hope? I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes. Otherwise, would love to see all of you in the Hope Summit, and maybe a portion of you at the day-long event. And no matter whether we actually meet in this lifetime or not, I know many of you are sort of all over. I just want to reiterate that the world shifts um, when individually we make choices to show up and no longer play small and take the action in the beautiful life that's ours, right? We all have different skills and tasks and things to offer, but we keep showing up. I do think that Michelle Obama has said hope is making a comeback. And I love that. Let's make hope a comeback. Let's learn how to bridge the light and the dark. Let's find ways to create a more beautiful future. I have 3 kids. And my middle son recently said to me, I worry that the planet might not be here, Mom, when I'm an adult. Right? So I think it requires all of us to show up, and we can't solve all the world. Well, not one of us can solve all the world's problems. They're too vast and deep, but we can certainly work with what's in front of us. And I think that's what we're all being called to do. Yeah, Michelle, the Hope Summit, it's just 4 online classes, 4 free online classes. They're all saved too, so if you can't be there live, they'll be saved in Thinkific, and which is an online portal. And then after the content is shared, similar to what I did today, well, actually, I'll stay on for another full hour to have conversation, answer questions, go deeper with people who want to do that. And it is powerful to be together, just like you can even feel here today. Yeah, Monday night classes from 6 to 7. I'll be the only one presenting, but we'll have some bonus things that will come on. So there may be some other online bonus classes with some of the teachers. And so stay tuned for those that will keep you all abreast as everything continues to develop. Yeah, and during this Tinter 4.0, you'll have access to yoga classes as well. That will all be free and put in the online portal, and the classes will definitely revolve around the theme of hope. Imagine that. Yeah, and we are Central Standard Time, and so the class on Monday night will be from 6 to 7. Yeah, and keep Liz, nice to hear from you. Keep thinking about how you add glimmers to the world. Might even be something as simple as just you're kind to the person who made you your coffee at the coffee shop. I do think all of us that are committed to growth and evolution and bringing more light into the world, we have some big tasks at hand. But clearly, we must all be ready for it because we're embodied. We're here. Like we're in these bodies and we're in this earth at this specific point in time. So it's time for all of us to, I think, do our part. All right. Any other questions? Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really do feel you. It helps. It gives me the mojo to keep working, keep at this. So, yeah, thanks, everyone. Stay well. Join us. We'll see you soon, and remain hopeful. Mwah.